What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Godly Potential YouTube channel. This is my second time attempting to record this video, so hopefully I can get through it. Okay, so this video is going to be about the chakras. I got a comment on my, I believe it's entitled How to Open All 7 Chakras for Beginners or something like that. I got a comment pretty much saying, could I elaborate, pretty much go into more detail, and the guy also mentioned that it didn't work for him. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. First things first, I want to say continue to leave your comments. I'll try to get back to you. Also, just diving right into it, right into the topic. It takes time. Like, you're not gonna first begin working on the chakras and get the results that you expect like right away. Especially if you're anything like myself. When I first got into this, all I cared about was third eye. All I wanted is open the third eye, open the third eye, open the third eye. That's all I care about. Like, I'm trying to see spirits. I'm trying to communicate with spirits. I'm trying to call my ancestors. I'm trying to call my spirit guides. I'm trying to, that's all I cared about. And so I neglected all the other chakras. I focused mainly on the third eye. And then I would also work on the crown chakra. And so what this does is, because I've noticed a lot of times when you first get into the spiritual side of life, you get into the chakras. Mainly, we focus on the four higher chakras, the higher faculties, right? And we neglect the lower chakras. Because typically, for the average person you see day to day who isn't like spiritually conscious, you can say, or worried about the spiritual side of life, typically their higher chakras are blocked or unbalanced, and the lower chakras are the ones running the show. Three lower: the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, right? All about survival, replication, creativity, material gain, and all that, all that shit. So if that's you, like I said, focus on the higher chakras. Know that that's not the way to go about it. You gotta make sure they're all in alignment, right? You can't just focus on one. It's like you gotta get the foundation right. Like when you work on a chakra, do the chakra meditation, you start at the bottom, right? You might activate them, start at the top and work your way down. But when you fully start working on the chakras, you want to start with the root and work your way up, because that's the foundation, right? That's the base. It's the base chakra, right? And then you work your way up, right? So before I get into the method on how to a different technique on how to go about these chakras, I also want to mention this. So there's this book that I read recently. It is entitled Nudges from Your Spirit, right? And it says, learn to connect with the spirit within. This is by Melissa Kim Porter. Okay. And essentially, this book, I mean, it's like, mainly a lot of it is like pretty much stuff you need to do. There's a few words in there, but mainly it's like a journal, right, for you to write down your experiences and stuff. However, I mention it because I recommend this book. Why do I recommend this book? Because it teaches you the different ways in which each like clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty much clairvoyant. It's like clear seeing. Clair means clear, and the other word means like the sense. Okay, clairvoyance, clear seeing, right? Clairaudient, clear hearing, right? Clear sentience, I believe, is clear feeling. And yeah, clear cognizance, clear knowing, right? These are all the clairs, and she talks about this in the book. And when she's talking about it, she also mentioned that one thing that I picked up on that I didn't realize about myself was, when you think of clairvoyance, most people think of, oh, I can see spirits, right? They can communicate with spirits and they can see them, right? But she talked about how there's also different ways in which clairvoyance can appear. If you see repeat numbers all the time, like I know a lot of you do, right? You see 1111, 222, 333, 444, 555, 777, anywhere, you know what I'm saying? Things like that, 999, whatever. You might even see 666. Also, if you see 666, no, it's not the mark of the beast and all this shit. Because first of all, 666 stands for 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, right? What does that make up? Carbon, right? So when you look at 6, it's the mark of the beast. Don't think that you in trouble. That's my view on it. Now, if you're a Christian, or I don't even retract that statement, not even a Christian, but if you believe in certain religions who say that is it's the mark of the beast type of deal, then for you personally, that could mean that. Okay, but if that's not your thing, if you're not religious, if you're not into any religions that talk about that, then you can view it that way: 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. Okay, but yeah, she talked about how like just seeing repeat numbers is a sign of clairvoyance. If say you're seeking within your subconscious or through your day to day for a sign or answer, and then you see somebody license plate that has a word, you just that's like a message for you. If you're just walking past the TV and you see something up there and it's like something you needed to see, or let's say you overhear somebody's conversation, you're just passing by, you hear something that resonated, or you hear something that you were just thinking, whatever, right? That's a sign of clear audience. So anyway, she goes into all this stuff, so I recommend checking out that book. It's called Nudges from the Spirit. All right, let me bring it up again. Nudges from your spirit. Okay, that's that. So you may have these abilities and just not know it yet, because you have this idea of what it should look like. Okay, like, no, I should be a psychic medium, or I should be a whatever, right? We have these beliefs, but anyway, let's get into these chakras. So my approach when it comes to these chakras are essentially, you want to figure out which chakra is imbalance, right? You can't take a fucking test online and fill out this stuff and it gives you, tell you the percentage and all this stuff. I mean, technically it can work, but I wouldn't recommend it. The best bet is to, okay, let's say this, okay? Before I get into the method, I got it pretty much notes right here, but this just came to mind. A thing you can do if you want to quickly balance your chakras, you can say, is you can get a Reiki healing section, right? You can, get Reiki done, remote or distance Reiki, or you can go to a person who offers Reiki services, right? What they're doing is they're taking the life force energy, because they've been connected to the chi line, right? The Reiki line of energy, right? The life force energy, so they can call up on it, allow it to flow in them, and they can go through each chakra and pretty much cleanse and balance each chakra, right? You can take that approach. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that. But yeah, let's get into this topic, or this method. So, like I said, you want to figure out which chakra is in balance. I mentioned another video. A way you could do that is by getting a pendulum and holding over your chakra and whatever. But I like to look at the physical manifestations of the chakras, right? What they deal with. And then once you look at what they deal with, you can look in your life from an introspective or a third person point of view, and you can say, okay, I deal with this. Okay, yeah, boom, 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 boom. Then you can say, okay, well, the chakra's in balance, or the chakra is overactive or underactive, right? And by doing this is also going to lead you down a path of shadow work. Like, shadow work is very good for you. I mean, me just being pretty much a Scorpio, the ruling sign, the ruling planet Pluto, and all these things, and I stayed transforming, like, it's almost ridiculous. So I'm always doing shadow work, right? Shit's always coming up, and I gotta dissect it and go deeper and deeper into it. But on the other side of that, there is more freedom, and yeah. So by looking at these physical manifestations, it's going to typically lead you down a path of shadow work, right? And shadow work is just pretty much looking at the hidden side of you, the shadow side that you hide from the world and whatnot, and you just pretty much you go into them and you fix them, or you shed light on them, or you do what you got to do. Now, I'm not going to go into each. Well, I can't pretty much say, oh, if you're dealing with this, do this. If you're dealing with this, do this. No, I can't do that because everybody's different. I don't know how many people's going to watch this video. It might work for me. It may not work for you. However, I made a video. You can go into pretty much the archive, and I believe it's entitled "How to Deal with Traumas" or something like that. It's just a method that I use. It works for me. You can give it a try. It may or may not work for you. I'm not a licensed professional. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. Okay. I'm a life coach, but anyway, let's get into it. Root chakra, the base chakra, the chakra that deals with safety, right? Security, and a feeling at home within your own skin. Do you have those things? Do you have a sense of safety? Do you have a sense of security? Do you have a sense of feeling at home? If you do not, this could mean that this chakra is imbalanced, okay, underactive, okay. So if you're dealing with these, you want to work on bringing more security, more safety, more sense of well-being within your own skin, okay. And a lot of times this can come from, you think about safety and security, a lot of times it can come from financial constraints, okay. Maybe you're not making the amount of money that you want to make. Maybe you don't have the job that you wish you had, okay. Because oftentimes what I've noticed is once you first get into the spiritual, like I said, we tend to neglect the lower chakras and put the focus on the higher chakras, right? The higher faculties. But what that also means is, this may have just been me, or maybe a lot of you go through this, where you pretty much stop giving a shit about like money and all this. Like, like you need it to function in this 3D or 4D reality, but you don't really give a shit about it, right? You just want to spiritually evolve because you know what's real and what isn't. However, know that you're in an animal body, right? You're in a physical body that needs these things, right? The body only cares about, or the genes only cares about two things: survival and replication. I don't know why I put up those two, but anyway, survival and replication. What does that mean? Surviving, right? Money, food, okay. Replication, sex, passing on the genes. That's all it cares about, right? So if you're not making the same the amount of money that you wish that you had, that could create security issues. Why? Because you need money in order to have a level of security within this reality, especially if you're in the Western world. Okay, so if you're dealing with those if you're dealing with physical constraints, that could cause security issues. What could cause root chakra imbalances, because, or rather, that balance pretty much manifests as that, because everything starts on the inside first, then it manifests on the outside. So if you're having root chakra blockages or root chakra imbalances, it first begins in the subtle body and then it manifests in the exterior, okay. It all starts within, then it manifests without. So if you're having those type of issues, know that it comes from a root chakra imbalance, okay, or a sense of not feeling, not being comfortable in your own skin, okay, and as well as a sense of security or safety, like especially those two things, right? Not feeling comfortable in your own skin and a sense of security or a sense of safety. Those typically, from my experience, comes from like early childhood things, early life things, right? Especially when it comes to a sense of well-being or a sense of feeling at home in your own skin. So that's when the shadow work kicks in, and you gotta dive within those depths and get some shit figured out, or you can go seek like a counselor or something along those lines to get those things resolved, right? Or come to a common ground where it no longer holds you back. Because essentially what's going on is if you go back into that past, right, and you tap into that situation or whatever the case may have been, you'll notice there's a lot of energy there, right? That energy, that emotion, that energy in motion is still stuck there. That energy is still stuck there, right? And so it still affects you to this day. So, and I talk about all that in that video about traumas and whatnot. So you can go check it out. But yeah. So that's the root chakra. Do you have any of those balances or imbalances? Moving on to the second chakra, the sacral chakra. And also the root chakra, I mean, like I said in the chakra video, I tell you where the chakras are located. So I'm going to assume that you know where those chakras are located. Sacral chakra, the second chakra, okay? This chakra, it is associated with our emotions, creativity, and the senses, okay? It also is related to one-on-one. Hold on, before I even go back real quick to the root chakra. The root chakra also deals with, is also related to your family or the origin and your human tribe, right? Do you feel connected with the people around you and your family and whatnot? And you can, so that's also root chakra. Going back, second chakra, sacral chakra. It deals associated with your emotions, creativity, your senses. It's also related to one-on-one relationships and your connection to intimacy. So do you have any issues within this area of life, right? So associated with your emotions, are you disconnected from your emotions, right? Are you just like cold, right? Yeah, you can't really express yourself like that. Or do your emotions overwhelm you, just engulf you, right? They just consume you. That's also not in balance. That's overactive, right? So yeah, be aware of that. Creativity. Can you come up with ideas, right? Are you creative at all? Like, we're all creative beings, but it's like we all are creators, right? If we are one, or if we stem from the creator, the divine, we also have that same creative potential within us. So are you creative, right? Can you tap into your creativity? If not, it may be from a sacral chakra blockage. And like I said, do the shadow work, figure out why that is. Also related to one-on-one relationships, as well as feelings of intimacy, okay, or your connection to intimacy. So do you struggle with one-on-one relationships? Is that difficult for you? Do you avoid them? Do you constantly have to be in one, right? Or is it balanced for you, right? Are you good in that area? And be honest with yourself, right? Feelings of intimacy. Like, I know I've struggled with this, right? Because looking back, doing the shadow work, growing up for me, there was not a high level of intimacy. There was love and care, right? But there was no intimacy. And I don't mean like sexual intimacy. It's just like people opening up to one another. That's an intimate moment, right? As well as you can throw affection in there. So for me, growing up, there was a lack of affection, right? You can say that's intimacy. So there was no something wrong with the child. You're held by your mother as you cry, and she just holds you and be there, right? Hold space and be that intimate moment y'all share. That what's the other word that I just used? That affection. No, that wasn't there for me, right? Growing up. So as I grew up, when it came to intimate relationships, shit was weird, right? Because I didn't expect it. In fact, when I would have an intimate moment, even if it was like just having a conversation with somebody and they just open up to me, it would it would be so foreign to me. It's like I wouldn't know how to respond, or if someone was crying right in front of me, I didn't know what the fuck to do, right? Because there was a blockage there within the sacral chakra, because early childhood or early life situations, pretty much, yeah, just didn't have that, right? So that developed as a imbalance, and so yeah, do the shadow work. Do you, yeah, do you is your sacral chakra balance based on the things that I've said, or is it imbalance? Okay, moving on to the third chakra, the solar plexus. Okay, the solar plexus is associated with all of your thoughts and feelings about yourself. Okay, the chakra is about the relationship with yourself. It's also about manifestation, and it's where all the energy is housed within your body. Okay, for the most part. So relationship with yourself. Do you love yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you care for yourself? Do you like encourage yourself? It's just a relationship with yourself, right? It's just, if I was to ask you, how's your relationship with your parents, right? You know how to answer that. Or how's your relationships with your kids, right? You know how to answer it. Or how's your relationship with, I don't know, the government, right? You'll be able to answer it. But when you ask someone, how's your relationship with yourself? You're like, I don't know. I guess I love myself. It's right. Right? It's like, no, it's rarely evaluated. So you need to evaluate this. How's your relationship with yourself? And be honest, because this could be called a solar plexus chakra, which deals with manifestation. If you have manifestation difficulties, it may be a result of a imbalanced solar plexus chakra. So yeah, how's your relationship with yourself? Yeah, that's all I got for that one. Whoops. Okay, fourth chakra. It's the heart chakra. Okay. The heart chakra is associated with love of all kinds. Okay. Kindness to strangers. Right. So when you see a stranger, like, or rather, what is your viewpoint on society as a whole? Okay. Do you think people are remotely good, or do you think people are remotely bad? Right. And I say that because depending on what your answer is, you also may, it also could be like a heart chakra issue, but it also kind of goes back to the solar plexus chakra, because understand that you are a part of society, right? So if you look at the majority of people as bad, then you subconsciously, deep down, you might look at yourself as bad, right? As a bad individual. Or you just always have your guard up because you trust no one if you think they're bad, right? So yeah, kindness to strangers. I know when an epiphany I had, or a different mindset that I took on, was a few years ago. I was in a Walmart, and yeah, I don't know, people were just annoying me, dude. It was just like, I don't know, just being annoying, until I just had this idea just coming to my mind, and it was that, look, man, look around. And I did, and then I went, they're all just like you, right? In the sense that they're all spiritual beings here trying to figure this shit out, right? Some people may have more knowledge, others may be more ignorant. But at the end of the day, these people are all doing the best that they can. So they think, right? So if this person's doing this, it's because they feel like that is the best choice for them at that time. And so just taking on that, it just gave me a level of compassion. So maybe you can take on that as well if you have a negative viewpoint, or lack kindness to strangers, right? I'm not saying just give a fucking hitchhiker a ride and nothing like that. I won't be doing that. I'm not trying to get sliced and diced, but yeah. Overall, how is your viewpoint or kindness to strangers? Romantic love, okay? Do you have that? Do you avoid it? Are your relationships toxic and lack love? Is it really love, or is it just connection? See, that's one of the human needs, right? Love. That's one of the I believe is 6 or 8 human needs is love. But if you look at it, it says human need love. Most people settle for connection. That's huge because a lot of times, and also too, this is just my little viewpoint on it. It's like there is no such thing as conditional love, right? There's just love, and love is unconditional. If it's conditional love, it was never love, right? It was just connection. So ask yourself that: is this like in my relationships, were there love or was there just connection? Okay, because if you look at it, the opposite side of love. I mean, some say fear, but in this example, let's say hate, right? If you fall out of love with someone, like how could that happen? It's almost like either you love them or you hate them. It's like nowhere in between. It's like you still love them, right? It's not just like, yeah, I loved them at one point, but now I don't feel a way about them. I don't see how that's possible. If you truly love them, because love is one thing, it's unconditional, right? There's no such thing as conditional. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. Let's keep going. Compassion for others, friendships, family love, and self-love, right? You have compassion for others, for the common man, the common woman, your friends, your family, and self-love, right? Do you? If not, you may have a blockage here, and if so, like I said, do the shadow work. Moving on to the 5th chakra, or the throat chakra, right? So the chakra is associated with communication, expression, the use of your voice, and knowing when to stay quiet. This is huge because a lot of people, I used to be this way as well. So a lot of us, we will suppress our voice. Okay? And we'll suppress our truth. And this will cause a throat chakra blockage. It's also, so for example, whenever, let's say you grew up, if you grew up like I did, and let's say when you're the type of punishment you received growing up was fucking whippings, right? Right, with a belt or a hand or spankings, whatever you want to call it, right? Those things, if you look back at it, like I heard this, I heard someone say this, like a while ago. They posted some shit, and it was like, look, I got whoopings growing up. Look how I turned out. And they say that they turned out good because they didn't end up dead or in jail. But actually, I posed a question like, did you actually turn out better? Because what those beatings, whippings, spankings, or whatever the fuck did were created within you suppression of your expression, right? It made you suppress your voice, especially after if you got a whooping like happened to us, me and my siblings, or really me and my brothers. It was stop crying if I give you something to cry about. All it does is make you suppress your voice, right? And you can't, growing up, like, you couldn't be angry, right? Are you getting mad at me or what? You gonna raise your voice, blah blah blah. Suppression, right? when you get a whooping, right? And stop crying if I give you some crap about suppression, right? You just went through a traumatic event and you can't even grieve, right? Or let's say you grew up in an environment where you're around a bunch of guys and shit, right? You're feeling emotion, but you're like, nah, I'm not gonna cry. Nah, that's weak, or whatever. Or you in a real emotional situation and you just feel this blockage of energy within your throat, like that lump in your throat, that frog in your throat, some people call it. All it is energy, and it's getting blocked because it wants to be released, but you don't release it. You suppress it, and you hold the energy there. That energy is no longer in motion. It's stuck there, and it's going to remain stuck there until you do the deep shadow work and relieve that energy. Like I mentioned it on a prior video when my brother passed this earlier this year. Like, reaction was, when the emotion came up, I was like, suppress. I don't want to feel that. And I was like, hold on, no. Bring that shit out. And I literally felt the energy come from my fucking heart chakra, go up to my root chakra and lump your throat, and just let it out. Right? And what that does is just simply release the energy, right? That heartache, that pain and shit, you're releasing it, okay? But it also goes along the lines of self-expression, speaking your truth, right? Just self-expression is not only just speaking either. It's like self-expression, like, do you wear what you want to wear? When you feel like dancing, do you fucking dance, right? Or are you like, oh, I care what other people think, and woo, and just suppression. So if you're dealing with that, do the shadow work and figure out why that is and overcome it. All right? Because if you look at all these things, you also look at the flip side. Once you do these things, you will be able to have that, right? You will be able to express yourself, right? And each other chakra and what they deal with. Okay, it's also related to your ability to speak from your heart and mind with clarity and to listen with compassion. Okay. But actually reverse, it also comes from when to stay quiet as well. So you might have an overactive throat chakra. If you just yap, it's just like, I can't, if I feel some way, I'm gonna say it. It's like, nah, like, you need to know when to zip it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's a time and a place for that, right? It's like, if, let's say hypothetically speaking, right? I'm gonna use Minx for example. I don't want you to pretty much take on this mind frame, but just ask me if this is an appropriate place, right? Let's say when my brother passed away, right? We're all at his funeral, and someone showed up that I don't know. I just felt some type of way about him from like a past event or something, and I sit there and I see him, and I just got to speak my mind. Or they say something to me, I just got to speak my mind, and we just had this big ass verbal brawl, you know what I'm saying, in the middle at a funeral, you know what I'm saying. People are grieving and shit, and I'm just like, nah, I speak what's on my mind regardless. Boo boo boo. It's like, is that the appropriate time for that? Or you gotta know, like, look, I'm not even gonna entertain it, right? Or let's say you get pulled over, right, for speeding, right, clearly breaking the law, right? But then you like, nah, they need to get a job, ooh, and the officer come up and you just get attitude and you start blah 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 blah, thinking it's going to end well for you, and it doesn't. You're gonna get a ticket, right? Or it might escalate and you might get sent to jail. So you gotta know when to shut the fuck up as well. Also know when to speak, even if your voice shakes, but also know when to shut the fuck up. Okay. So yeah. Also, can you speak from your heart and mind with clarity and listen with compassion? Are you able to fully listen, or you listen to respond? Like, listening is a full body thing, right? It's like, it's difficult for me to drive and have a deep conversation, right? Because when I'm listening, I'm fully engaged in listening. It's like my whole body is listening, picking up on the subtleties, the body language, the hidden language, the facial expression, the micro expressions, right? What's actually been said. It's like, it's difficult for me to do that and drive at the same time, because it's a full body thing. So do you listen like that, or do you just listen to respond, or do you start out listening and then they say something and you latch on to it and you don't want to forget that, so you just let them keep talking, but you hold on to that in your mind? Pretty much you stop listening and you just hold on to that because you want to respond to that, right? So yeah, let's go on to the next chakra. The third eye is where a lot of people pretty much focus on. So let's look at the third eye. The third eye is associated with your intuition, imagination, inner wisdom, and insight. Are you intuitive? If the answer is no, that is not correct. We're all are intuitive. We are spiritual beings. We're all intuitive beings. So if you're not intuitive, that means you have a third eye chakra blockage. Okay. Your imagination, your inner wisdom, and insight. Like when I first got into this, it was very difficult for me to imagine things, right? Because growing up, I didn't really utilize my imagination that well. Like I wasn't playing with like action figures. I wasn't reading like fiction books and like envisioning these things. No. So when I first started meditating, all I see was blackness. I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Or they say visualize yourself walking down a grassy hill and you see a fucking chair, and it's like some things I can pick up because I've seen them and I can pretty much replicate it there, but a lot of times I'm like, I don't know, like my imagination is shit. So that could be caused from or that can be the result of a third eye chakra blockage. Your inner wisdom and insight. Do you have the ability to look at a situation, scenario, and utilize your inner wisdom? Does inner wisdom come up, right? Almost like a knowingness. It's like, that ain't right for me. It might be right. It isn't right for me. That's not the path for me, right? Do you have that? If not, it could be a third eye chakra blockage. And like I said, with all of these blockages, if you have these blockages, you gotta do the shadow work. You gotta think back to like, okay, why is this a blockage? As well as do the exercise or do the things I talked about in the prior chakra video. Okay. Now, the third eye chakra also is related to your ability to see deep within your heart spaces and truest, wisest parts of yourself. Okay. Can you see the bigger picture and have a positive view of the future? Okay. Do you have a 5-10 year goal or ideal life in mind? If not, I would recommend you build one. And if you do have one, can you clearly see that within your mind's eye, your imagination, right? Can you clearly see it? If not, practice it as well as do the inner work, but just practice it. A good way to work on your imagination as well is like take an object, right? Let's say I have this. You can take an apple or something. This is it, and you just want to look at it. You want to analyze it. You just want to analyze it. Okay. Go over it, turn around, look at all the details. Do that for a couple minutes, and then close your eyes and see that in your mind rotating and just looking at everything. Okay, and just do that a couple times. But yeah, do you have those abilities? If not, it could be a blockage. So, the last but not least, the crown chakra, right? The seventh chakra. This chakra is associated with your sense of enlightenment and remembrance that you are a small part of the greater whole. You're a piece of the divine, right? It's also, the chakra also is associated with you're feeling that you have a place within the universe, right? I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, I believe. Yeah, do you have those, or do you like those? If so, you have a blockage there. And yeah, you just gotta do the shadow work as well as do the things I mentioned in the first video, right? Is there anything else that I want to cover? But yeah, check out that book. If you want to, you can get a Reiki healing session. Do the shadow work. Look at the physical manifestations of in your life, and look at them. If you have those, if those are blockages in those chakras, if you have those issues in certain ones, let's say like the root chakra, you have security. Get your finances in order. Get your sense of purpose. Your sense of safety, your security in order. If it's security, learn the martial arts or something, or get a firearm, learn how to whatever. Just go about it that way. Look at each chakra or each physical manifestation of the chakra imbalances and look at how you can improve upon that. Okay? What else? Yeah, that's all I got. It's kind of a longer video, 40 some odd minutes. Hopefully it records all the way through. Hopefully it's not choppy. But anyway, if this video helps, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do all that other good stuff. Like, comment, subscribe.